Hey there, I'm Josh from Synty Studios, and in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you the basics of animations within Unity. By the end of this tutorial, you'll know how to play and loop animations. Let's get started. I'm using our Emotes and Taunts animation pack for this video, but the principles in this tutorial will apply to any characters and any animations. First, I'm going to drag my desired character into the scene. I'm going to zoom in for a closer view. You can see in the inspector that the character comes with an animator. Most characters do by default, but there won't be an animation controller. We're going to make that next. Let's do that by right-clicking in our project browser, going to Create, Animation, and Animation Controller. You can think of the animation controller like the brain that will control our animations. Let's give it a name like AC Emote. Before we add that to the character in our scene, we should unpack the prefab. Let's right-click it in the hierarchy, go to Prefab, and click Unpack Completely. This way it won't affect every other instance using this prefab. Now we can drag our AC Emote animation controller into the animation controller slot in the animator on our character. Now, let's double-click AC Emote to load up the animator. The first thing we're going to do in here is place a base or idle animation. We have one in the base folder. I can go in there and select our animation and preview it in the inspector. Then I can drag it into the animator. You'll see that it becomes orange. That means this is now the default animation that will play when this animator starts. Next, we'll add our emote that we want to play. Let's go into the greet folder and find one. Here we have a salute animation. We can preview it by clicking play. Instead, let's use the stomp salute. We can drag that into our animator. Now we want the ability to trigger this animation. We're going to need a transition between the idle and the new animation we added. To do that, we're going to go to the parameter tab at the top left. Then click the plus icon to add a new parameter and add a trigger. We're going to call that emote. Let's next right-click the animation we want to transition from, in this case the default idle, and click Make Transition. Then click on the animation we want to transition to, in this case the stomp salute. That will make a transition line between these animations with an arrow in the middle. Let's click on that so we can look at its parameters. In the inspector is a conditions panel. Let's click on the plus icon to add a new condition. By default, it'll choose the only one that's there, which is the emote trigger. At the top, we're going to turn off has exit time. Has exit time means it'll wait before the animation finishes before transitioning. In this case, we want to interrupt the idle, not wait for it to finish. Let's now right-click our stomp animation, click Make Transition, and click our idle again so we can make a transition back to it. Click on the transition again, but this time leave has exit time enabled. If there's no conditions but has exit time is enabled, the transition will happen when the animation finishes playing. I'm going to grab my animator tab and move it to the right side of my screen so that I can click play and preview how these parameters changing will look during runtime. You can see that the character is playing an idle, and if I click on the circle under emote, it'll play the emote animation. This is how you can set up an animation to play once when a trigger happens, but I'll next show you how to loop an animation. Let's now set up a looping animation. I'm going to move my animator back to my main window so I can access both it and the inspector at the same time. Then I'm going to search for my desired animation. In this case, I'm going to go to the dance folder and find this running dance animation. I'll click play in the preview window to give it a look. Once I'm happy with my choice, I'm going to make sure that loop time is enabled. Let's enable that checkbox. Then we can drag our animation into the animator. Make sure we give it a save. We're again going to make a transition between the idle and our new animation using a parameter, but this time we're going to go to click to add new parameter and add a bool. A bool is true or false. Let's name this bool dancing, so we either are dancing or we aren't. You can click the checkbox to set it to true or click it again to set it to false. Now let's right click our idle, click Make Transition, and make the transition to our new dancing animation. Once again, click the arrow in the middle of the transition to modify its parameters. Again, we want to turn has exit time off as we don't want the idle to finish playing before it interrupts with this dancing animation. Then we're going to add a condition again, but this time we're going to change it to the dancing condition and we want that to be true. So when dancing is true, we're going to transition to the dancing animation. Then right click the dancing animation, make transition, and transition back to the idle. Again, select the transition, add a condition where if dancing is false, and in this case, we're going to leave has exit time on as the end of this animation transitions back to an idle. We're now ready to preview our animator. I'm again going to grab the animator window and drag it to the right side of my screen so that I can mess with the parameters while I preview the game in real time. I'll just adjust its organization here, and then I'm going to make sure I have my character selected. We need to have our character selected so that the animator previews that character in the window, otherwise it won't preview that specific character. We'll hit play, and after that loads, we can enable the dancing parameter in the animator. You'll notice that our character transitions into the dancing animation. If we turn dancing off, it'll wait until the dancing animation finishes, and then it'll go back to the idle. We can then toggle emote, and you can see that our character plays the emote from the trigger, and as soon as that finishes, it transitions back to the idle. We'll next bring everything together by creating a script that can play these animations when I press E or Q and putting it on a new character. First, I'm going to delete my existing character from the scene since I don't need him anymore. Then, I'm going to go find another character I already made with the Sidekick character creator and drag him into the scene. Once he's in the scene, we want to go find the animation controller we made. Let's go find that now and then drag it into the animator under the animation controller section. With that done, we'll now need a script so we can press E or Q to play those animations. The script will work by setting the parameters on our animator. Let's create the script now by right-clicking in the project browser, going to Create, Scripting, and Mono Behavior Script. Let's give it a name, in this case, EmoteController. The name needs to match the code inside the script. Once you've made that script, let's double-click it to open it up. If you need help getting started with code or setting up Visual Studio, check our video in the description. Once we're inside the script, let's press Ctrl A to select the existing script, and then press Ctrl V to replace it with the script I have, which you can find in the description. The way the script works is it has an input slot for an animator, and when you press E, it triggers the emote parameter. When you press Q, it sets dancing to true or false. It sets it to the opposite of what it already is. Let's save our script and then go back to Unity where it'll quickly compile. Once it's compiled, we can select our character and drag the script into the components list. On the script, you'll need to set the animator. You can grab the animator and drag it into the animator reference slot. Once that's done, we can hit play and check it out. Once we're in play mode, we can press E and you can see that it plays our emote. We can also press Q and it'll switch to our dancing animation. It'll keep looping until we press Q to turn dancing off again. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments if you'd like to see a follow-up tutorial teaching you how to play random animations, or if you have any other tutorial ideas. If you found this tutorial helpful, please consider giving us a like and subscribing for future content. All of the assets and scripts used in this video can be found in the description.